Welcome to another episode of the Finding Serenity in the Midst of Chaos podcast. Today we have a different episode. If you are a parent, exhausted parent specifically, of a new neurodivergent kid, you're going to want to listen to this episode. This episode is especially for you if you are the kind of person who wants a different way to parent versus using rewards and punishments and consequences. If you're fed up with saying no to your kids and you feel like you're constantly firefighting with your children who are whining or having tantrums, and you will love this episode because by the end of it you will have a great understanding of the importance of connecting with your children, and you'll have tools and techniques for building connection with your children and how to build collaboration using a different parenting strategy called PACE. Are you ready to say goodbye to the tantrums and meeting your kids where they are? Well, welcome to this episode, so stay tuned. Hi, Nicola.
Hi, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I really cannot wait. I'm literally so excited to talk to you today. I mean, for all our listeners and watchers on YouTube, they're going to be surprised because this is a very different kind of episode. This is one of the series of episodes where we do a guest expert, and I've especially wanted to invite you because I probably am one of those parents who is doing punishments versus consequences and all of that, and I really want to hear what you have to say. But before we start, please, can you tell us who you are, who you help, and why you are helping who you're helping?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm Nicola Ricci. I'm the founder of the PDA space. PDA stands for Pathological Demand Avoidance, a profile of autism. Fundamentally, I support families and professionals who are working with or have neurodivergent children. However, there is a lot of transferable skills, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is supportive to all parents and families, moving away from some of our older ideas of parenting or, within the family. I have also hosted 5 global online summits around pathological demand avoidance. This year's was looking beyond behaviour. So really looking at why are we seeing what we're seeing with our young people or children, and what are they telling us in the way they're behaving?
Yes, so important. That's the kind of thing that we are trying to speak to our schools about since an early age. He's behaving in this way because he's trying to tell you something. Don't try and deal with the behavior, deal with the cause, and behavior will go away. I don't know how many times I've told this to the teachers, but I will not stop telling them. But you're absolutely right. There's, it's an unmet need that's trying to be met through behavior, and that's the only way they speak, isn't it? You're right.
Full stop. Then it's very hard for us to necessarily put into language what our needs are, even as adults.
Yeah.
And so for a child, understanding why their body feels perhaps a bit, bubbly, or why they feel that they need to get up and move, they're not going to necessarily have the language. And it's those of us who are the adults in the situation to be able to unpick. And I'm going to be honest, I am slightly moving because when I'm concentrating, I sort of need to move as well.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting.
But the thing is, I think our body is designed to be moving. We have emotions, energy in motions, and we need to be able to move. I don't know where we bought into the concept that we must stay still all day long, but yeah, that's what we are being told to do every time, especially if the children to do that. To expect them to do that is quite hard. So I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about this different way that you're going to mention punishments versus consequences. I think even the word punishment is taken out of context. It was supposed to be discipline, in the olden days, and discipline turned into punishment. And yeah, I just want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, so I think what will probably be best is we go into why connection and collaboration is so powerful. I think we can all think of punishments we've done, and I will touch on it as I talk around connection and collaboration. But I think when we think about, and this is quite a good pre-starter, you know, if you think about the past week, if you were working as part of a team, or your partner or family member, every time you said, oh, I'm going to do this, they said, no, you can't do that. And you consistently heard that, how would you feel about yourself? If you had a busy day, perhaps you picked your children up from school, you've got home, you've sat down at 4 o'clock with a drink and just like, oh, so perhaps, I don't know, surfing on your telephone. And I came and went, no, I'm going to take that from you, because no, you've not cooked tea, you've not put the washing away, you've not, whatever. I'm giving very, very trivial things, because I can't think of anything more, and they're things that perhaps most homes need to be done. How would we feel? We'd probably have a lot of outrage. We'd feel quite like, especially if someone kept saying no to us, our self-esteem would really be reducing. Which then we know the link between low self-esteem, anger, sadness, and so there will become more outbursts. You know, I've always enjoyed watching people, and I watched somebody recently, and within 3 minutes, all I heard her say to a young person, and this was not in judgment, it was just interesting, no. And I was like, didn't get involved, but I was like, I wonder how you could have said that either differently, or what would happen if you said yes? Because the energy of yes is so different. And I'm going to put a little preempt here. I wish I knew this when my boys were 2. So I didn't do it perfectly. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly apologizing. So with that in mind, this is why building a connection with our young people is really important. And I'll use the term young people, because that then encompasses, if people are listening, have got teens, older ones, but also the tiny tots as well. We think that we do. And again, I can put my hand up and thought that I was interested. But very often we've got that racing mind of, oh, I need to do that job. So connecting with their interests, listening, even if it is 5, 10, 15 minutes of the same info being shared again and again and again. And we can be, I know I've done it. Oh, yeah. Okay, I've heard you. But that connection is vital. Because you and I, for us to do something, we need that connection for us to flow. So sitting there, you know, I think mobile phones, I love them, but also putting it away and having a dedicated 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes where you just sit with them. That could be that thinking very outside of the box. If they're watching a program, if they do online gaming, whatever it might be, you are sitting there 100%. You know, don't have your phone, not listening to something in an earpiece, just being there, because that connection they will really pick up.
Yeah. The thing I'm just gonna come in here and say, well, most people, most of us, most women who is racing through the day, through the jobs, through that they need to do, they don't even connect with themselves, let alone to connecting with their little people. And this is a great reminder, not just as a parent, but as a person to connect with yourself, you know. And that's just such an overlooked thing, isn't it? We were told to say no from a very early age, but yet we don't say no to all the demands that keeps coming onto us.
Yeah,
We are
absolutely.
so quick to say no to the child without even listening to what they're asking most of the time. You know, I'm guilty. I say, whatever you're going to ask, the answer is no.
Yeah,
It's just like an automatic reaction, isn't it?
it is. And it's training us out to not say anything and
Mm.
say, I'm, having a phrase. And I know that you do a lot of coaching, reminding people to have that phrase in their mind of saying, I'm just going to think.
Yeah.
And that modeling to
Mm.
our kids as well of, I'm just going to think about what you've just asked me.
Okay.
Allows that mutual respect and understanding, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
bonding that. And I'm not saying you have to say yes to everything, but finding other ways of saying no.
Yeah.
If it's a game, if it's a big thing, if you're in the supermarket, oh, let's take a photo, let's add it to the birthday list, let's add it to the Christmas list.
I mean, sorry, I just saw a reel recently. You could say no, but you can start with yes. Yes, of course, you can do that after you've done this. You can do this tomorrow. You can do this, whatever. You're still saying yeah or no if you like, but without having to use the word no, because that in itself creating a whole new neural pathway in your brain is they keep hearing the same word. And then we wonder why we become adults of not knowing what we want to do in life and not even believing that we can do what we want to do because we heard no, you can't do that all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you are going to, for example, go into a supermarket with your, especially young children, preempting you're going to be asked, can I have this, this, and this? So saying before you go in, okay, you can have whatever your family feels comfortable. If it's a piece of fruit, if it's a toy. I mean, I remember when magazines were not as expensive as they are now. But whatever it is, because I think if you go in and you preempted that, the child knows what the expectation is. Like you and I before this, if I knew what the expectation of what did I need to do to be prepared?
Yeah.
It allows me to be in and ready to flow.
Yeah, exactly.
And that
I find that with my son often when he doesn't know what he wants, what he is doing in a given day, like on a Saturday where he doesn't have any homework, but it's a free reign, he gets bored, he's climbing up the walls and doing whatever. If we told him this is what's going to happen during the day, this is what we're going to do, he's fine. Then he just gets on with his day easily. Yeah.
And this just reduces that hierarchical approach that I think over the last few decades, that we're the adult, they should do as we tell them. And actually seeing our children and young people as equals. Some people might hear that and just go, not willing to listen. But actually, if we want to collaborate with our young people, we want our young people to listen to us. Because actually, when they hit the teens and 20s, we want them to come to us.
Yeah. But I love the word collaborate. And you know what? This word never occurred to me and probably doesn't occur to 90% of the parents to collaborate with your children. But if you think about it, you want an easy life, right? As a parent, you want to get on with your day and you just want them to be happy.
Yeah.
And yes, you do want to collaborate. And yes, indeed, when you can still deal with the tantrums, whatever, when they are two, but when they become 12, 13, whatever, when they really start to go through those difficult years, then you'll know you should have collaborated with them earlier, isn't it?
Being able to go, okay, this is going on, how can we work together? things like therapeutic, non-violent relationships, we, at whatever age, we can still come together. And I think coming and looking at how the young person feels heard, when we feel heard, we feel validated.
Yeah.
We feel that our experience is validated. Then, and I'm going to give a really simple technique to support that, it can be really supportive. And I can hear some people listening to this going, but what about, when Freddie does, poor old Freddie or Johnny. So it's having less than 5. I'd probably say only 3, but every family is different. Some non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And your family, my family are different. So, really considering what your non-negotiables are.
Yeah.
Being mindful that your non-negotiables are going to change through different age groups. Yeah. I remember when my boys were much younger, one of the non-negotiables with my eldest was to say, when I take your brother to X, you need to come, and I need you to come in a particular way. Non-negotiables may be about language, volatility, because I work with a lot of parents who their children, due to sensory overwhelm, will still be really struggling and appear to have tantrums, but that challenging behavior. So every family will have their own non-negotiables.
Yeah. I mean, I pick up on the word tantrum. Again, that's a name that we've given or has been given to that specific call for help. And it's kind of almost like a bad word, dirty word, tantrum. They're having a tantrum, whatever. And it's almost like we feel like we want to fight with that. But it's basically that child is having a very highly emotional experience, and we need to help them through that experience. And we would probably be a lot better for us and everyone else to collaborate with them than to resist against that, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's lots of words that I normally step away from. Tantrums being one of them, but it's the word that most people will resonate with.
Yeah.
But as you say, actually, what is that? It's like a mini volcano within a child, with a whole load of unmet needs that they can't verbalize. So what do you do? What do we all do when we've had one of those days where you've had, I don't know, the parking ticket because your ticket is blown out or you were 2 minutes late, all sorts of things, and you go, as an adult, we have ways of dealing with it. But we've all seen someone, haven't we, who has had that explosive moment. And that's because the day has just built up. And if we can look at it through a new lens, through a new set of eyes of they're releasing a lot of emotions, we need to just hold space. Normally, being quiet, just allowing for that emotion flow to go. Not judging. That's bad. That's, whatever terminology. And again, at times of peace, that is used a lot in the therapeutic MVR conversations, is at peacetime. For us, it's often driving in the car or walking the dog. When you're like that, what would you like me to do? Where would you prefer to be? Would you like to go to your bedroom and have your favorite soft toys? Or, it could be, as modeling, we say, oh, I'm going to have a sip of water because that's quite soothing. As the adult in present, we might want to just stop. I naturally put my hand on my heart to take a few deep breaths.
Okay, that's quite good. Yeah.
Rather than saying, calm down, don't do that. And I know for a phase, things got quite difficult in my home, and my husband would go, calm down. That didn't ever work for me. But saying, oh, do you want a glass of water? Or how about taking a few deep breaths?
Yeah.
Modeling what we need to do, but in peacetime, say, oh, when that happened, and this is a collaboration, imagine what could we have done differently?
Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah.
And using language like that, so there's no blame. And if the young person is very much, but if you hadn't done, or if that had, and it feels personal, just stand back and be like, okay, so if I had done this differently, okay, well, how can we do it differently next time? And I know that you will do this when you coach, when we have our buttons pushed and we get triggered.
Yeah.
There's certain things that we all be like, well, my family need to do it this way. And that's about our beliefs and values.
Yeah.
But the more we can unpick that info, but when our children are saying, well, actually, when you did that, I really struggled. Okay, so how can we do it differently?
And probably most parents find that children are very good at pushing our buttons and triggering us, and because it's almost like showing like a mirror in an unhealed part of us, and when we react in the way that we do, it's a big mirror held up against our face. This is what you need to heal as well, and if you're collaborating, we kind of get to heal together, right?
Absolutely. I know. What is it? And it's always for me, I have the least amount of capacity or energy, and like it's held up, and you're like, okay. And that's where modeling this behavior of maybe it is just going to take a moment to go and have a drink, or I'm just going to go to the toilet for a moment, even if you don't need to, just to give yourself that physical break. And I'm really big. I mean, I've got so many Post-it notes on my desk, having things, simple reminders for ourselves. One of my favorite phrases is to tell myself I am enough. So if a young person is, you've not done this, you've not done that, I am enough. I am enough. And as you say, being mindful, it is that mirror.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? Also, especially with the people that I work with, they're ambitious. They want to work hard for work, but they also want to be the best mom, best this, best that. And then that expectation that we hold because of the expectation of the society, we kind of judge ourselves. We kind of want to be quite hard on ourselves. Oh, I haven't done this correctly with my child. We all make mistakes, but it's about that collaboration, because our children is part of our family unit. And I think this, the important thing is that they are literally, we are giving them the baseline for their life, that what we say goes, and they believe that, and it becomes their belief system to then go on to the next generation and next generation. And when you think of it like that, collaboration is a great way to work together as a family unit. You mentioned this at the beginning, we mentioned this acronym PACE. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is before we wrap up?
I will. And it's come from Dr. Dan Hughes, but I've tweaked it. But yeah, PACE stands for playfulness, acceptance, compassion, and empathy.
Okay.
So if you think of a situation, something's happened, maybe your young person's come out of school and said, Johnny, poor old Johnny gets blamed for everything. Johnny's, done this. And maybe our normal rhetoric is go, oh, well, it's okay, it's fine. And in a way to try and put that lid on. When we think of playfulness, acceptance, compassion, and empathy, think of a story or similar time that this has happened. So, oh, wow, that, the playfulness of, oh, that sounds really tough. The acceptance, actually, I suppose in a bit more, is that sounds really tough. The compassion, yeah, I'd have felt really hurt, or I would have felt isolated, or I would have felt really lonely. I can, I can really get it. And the playfulness, I think, is in our language. So not being very or shutting down. The empathy, I can imagine today you're feeling really low. I can imagine you're going to want a little bit of time out when we get home. I wonder what I can do to support you. And it's thinking, I used to think of scenarios a lot because with both my boys being neurodivergent, things could escalate very quickly. So finding and thinking of situations so I could already get so used to using pace, like we've both said, the supermarket, that playfulness. I am that person when a young person is really close to going, I go, do you know, I'd like to as well. Let's do it together. And parents are like, but that playfulness of like, hey, come on, let's all have a little, I'd like to stomp my feet. Acceptance of actually who really wants to be in the supermarket. Sensory, it is sensory overwhelm with the noise, the lights, especially some of the big ones with very high ceilings. Compassion. I feel really overwhelmed in here. I can't wait to go home and I'm going to have my fizzy water or, I'm going to go and have some downtime. And the more that we get used to having pace, you may notice you do it anyway with friends. Having, again, as I say, having that acronym written out somewhere, if it's on your phone, if it's on notes, whatever it might be, because we need to practice it, this, so that when we're in that crunch moment, and in that crunch moment, and we've forgotten, and we've found, we've gone back to, that's it, I'm taking all of your child away. We can go back and go, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm still learning to change and I really want to be there with you. And we could even use pace Sam of, I really wish at that moment I'd stopped. And heard you. And I wonder if you can hear me. And I think the more that we can acknowledge we're not perfect. And have compassion for ourselves and acceptance that we're juggling far too much. And the more that we have compassion, the softer everything becomes. That modeling, again, it's about modeling what do we want to see.
And it's shifting the mindset of ourselves first. The children aren't just something else that we have to deal with. They're just part of our day. We brought them to this world and with some purpose, and let's just work together to make that a great thing for the world, because they have a lot of potential and it's up to us to make or break that. So unfortunately, we have that without having to put even more expectation. That's the very fundamental thing that we need to be able to do. And like you say, if you give that compassion to yourself first, and what would I need? And then, at the very beginning, when you gave that example, how would you have felt? And how, if you kept saying no to everything that you just want to do right there and then, how would you feel? Of course, not very good. So, and it's almost like we feel like we own our children. We have to say yes, no, whatever to everything that they do. But, we are not. We don't own our children. We are responsible for their safety. And that's about it. And teaching them things, but also being open to learning from them, because they are teaching so many lessons to us, I feel.
Oh, my boys have given me so many learnings. I'd already changed the way I parented to the way I was parented, but I've learned so much more. And I think when we understand more about the limbic system as well, about how our brains work, fight, flight, freeze, how all of this impacts has such a powerful way. But I think also just that being able to say sorry to our kids, we want them to apologize to us. But it's such a powerful way that if things have exploded, you know, going back and saying, you know, I'm really sorry, I messed up. Yes, sometimes our kids will go, yes, you've done it. So wrong. But actually, my eldest really, our relationship is amazing to where it was 9 years ago, before we knew that we needed to parent very differently in a very more autonomous way. And our relationship is amazing. And I know he will come to me. And that is so important, to have a teenager that I know he will share stuff with me. He'll share stuff with me about his friends. He knows that if something happens, that he can let me know, and I will go with no judgment and be the parent who will rock up and support that other young person if they're unable to contact their own family. And I don't mean that in a word of me, but that whole understanding that has come from connecting, collaborating, saying sorry so many times when I haven't got it right.
Yeah, that's amazing. This has been an amazing talk, and we probably could talk for another hour or so, but I want to leave our listeners with this really great topic that we've just had. And if they want to reach out to you, work with you, or want to know more, how can they do that, Nicola? Just let us know.
Yeah, I'm on social media. I'll hold this up because I think that may, and I know you'll put stuff in the show notes.
Sure.
The PDA space, obviously it'll be back to front, but I'm all about nature and trees. So look up the word the and then the letters PDA space. My website is full of resources, ebooks, blogs, and also I have Facebook, YouTube. I'm not so good on Insta, but yeah, come and find me.
Yes, I will put all of those in the show notes and at the bottom of this video on YouTube as well. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do, because we are coming with great talks like this with many different experts. Nicola, thank you so much, and we look forward to another episode like this, and thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Take care.